Chapter 2. Opposition. If a pony uses the Death Note, a god of death usually appears in front of him or her within 39 days after the first name is written. "Sister!" There was a grunt from someone beneath the royal sheets, but no other response. Princess Luna took another step into her sister's bedchamber, turning on lights as she went. "Sister, I'm re-establishing the Night Court." "Go away, Luna," Princess Celestia grunted, turning away and pulling the sheets fully over her head. "It's late." "It's not late. I've only just raised the—" Luna trailed off as the smell washed over her. "Tia, you've been drinking!" There was a long, uncomfortable pause while the Solar Princess considered her response. "No?" "Celestia," Luna sighed. "We don't have time for this. Ponies are dying. The death toll is currently in the hundreds and rising every day. Our subjects are scared. They need a strong ruler who can make things right. Some pony to look up to. You can't do this to yourself when Equestria needs you." "I'm not a queen." "What?" Celestia threw the covers off her and turned to face her sister. Her normally flawless mane was disheveled and her eyes were red and puffy from tears and lack of sleep. "I'm not a queen," she said quietly. "I promised I wouldn't be. Queens rule over their subjects. Queens think they're better than every pony else. A princess can still be one of them," she sniffed. "Tia," Luna stepped forward and nuzzled her sister comfortingly. "You're the best princess." Celestia looked down. "I'm not the princess." Suddenly she wrapped her forelegs around her sister in a massive hug and started bawling. "I'm terrible!" Luna struggled to stand as the much larger alicorn threatened to crush her. "Tia, you're drunk! Go back to sleep!" I try so hard," the Solar Princess wailed. "I try to set a good example. I go to parties, and I call every pony by name, and I don't hurt them like bad rulers do. But my little ponies keep killing each other." She sobbed on her sister's shoulder. "It's not fair." "It's okay, sis." Luna was finally able to roll Celestia off her and tuck her back into bed. "I'm going to get the Night Court together, and we'll figure this out. You'll see. You'll like this. I was even able to contact El. If any pony can make things better, he can." Celestia's tears started to dry up. "That's nice," she murmured. "My little detective. Just like old times." "Get some sleep. I'll talk to you in the morning." Luna turned out the lights and started towards the door. "Luna?" "Yes, Tia?" "Have you heard any word from the doctor?" Luna paused before answering. "No, Tia, nothing." "I see," the alicorn sighed. "You foolish boy," she mumbled. "I knew this day would come." Luna closed the door, and the Solar Princess drifted into restless sleep. "No, no, no!" Twilight shouted, pounding her head against the desk in frustration. "It can't be! It makes no sense!" She whirled around to glare at the Death Note accusingly. "How can you not be magical?" she yelled at the killer notebook. "You have to be! There's no other explanation for what you can do!" And yet, there it was, entirely unenchanted. The mystery of how and why the Death Note worked both fascinated and infuriated Twilight. She'd been certain at first that the book was an artifact that tapped into the latent magical energies of all ponies in order to stop their hearts. Time and time again, however, the tests she'd run on the notebook had come back negative. She'd put every part of it under analysis, from the paper, to the cover, to the ink on the page, and even the glue binding it together. But even while actively giving ponies heart attacks, there wasn't a drop of magic in the whole thing. Despite constantly reminding herself never to look a gift horse in the mouth, Twilight's frustration grew with every test she performed. What was this book? How could it do the things it did? Perhaps most importantly, where had it come from? This was the question that had kept her up these past few nights. Twilight could cope with not knowing how things worked. She'd learned to accept Pinkie Pie's twitches, Pinkie Pie's teleporting, Pinkie Pie's... well, actually most things Pinkie Pie did defy an explanation. If she could live with her, in time she'd adjust to a non-magical notebook that made no sense. But such a thing hadn't just sprung out of nowhere. Some pony had made it. Some pony with unbelievable power. No sane pony would just throw away that kind of power. Were they out there somewhere, looking for the book? Did they know she had it? If not, what would happen to her when they found out? No point worrying about things you can't avoid, Twilight muttered to herself, half-heartedly. She put the DeathNote back in its secret drawer and turned out the light. For Moondancer, she reminded herself. Her fears changed nothing. Even if there was a pony with power over life and death out there looking out for her, she still had a responsibility to rid Equestria of crime. She kept this thought in her mind as she climbed into bed. I am Kira, was her final thought as she closed her eyes. I am justice. At exactly midnight, the night court gathered. Close to 100 ponies filed into the Lunar Tower's main audience chamber. Unlike Celestia's grand hall, this room was shaped like an atrium, rows of seats at different levels looking down on a raised platform at the far end. A brown pony with a lightbulb cutie mark stood on the corner of the stage, setting up a projector. The ponies who filed into the room were yawning and sipping coffee, many of them still in their bedclothes. Perhaps without noticing, they'd separated out into 3 groups: unicorns on the right, Pegasi on the left, and earth ponies in the middle. From her position in the shadows, Luna smiled and shook her head. Even after 1,000 years, old pony habits never really went away. There was a flurry of bows and salutes as Princess Luna entered onto the main stage. "Fillies and gentle colts," she announced. "The night court is now in session." There was a general mumble of assent, and every pony sat down. "I apologize for the late hour, but, tradition." Luna blushed. "Since time is of the essence, and most of you are unused to keeping these hours, I'd like to skip the formalities and jump straight into the main issue. Are there any objections?" Unsurprisingly, there were no objections. "Great. Now we're here to discuss Kira." She nodded to the pony with the projector. He pushed a button, and the word Kira appeared on the wall behind her. 1 week ago, ponies Equestria-wide began dying very suddenly. The numbers started small, but have since risen to close to 100 a day. The cause of death remains unknown, but popular opinion has attributed the killings to an unknown entity called Kira. So far, the deaths have been exclusive to former or known criminals. I would like to take the opportunity to remind the court, Luna narrowed her eyes, that killing a pony is an act of murder, regardless of that pony's past actions. My sister was very clear on this. No pony ever has the right to kill another. Let's focus on that. She cast a stern glance around the room. Every pony was staring at her with rapt attention, which pleased her. It reminded her of the old days, back when she'd been just as respected as her older sister. In the wild times, when it hadn't been safe to sleep, Equestria needed a ruler of the night. "I now call upon the Canterlot Health Department. What have you discovered?" A pure white earth pony near the front of the room stood and bowed to the princess. A large white coat covered his cutie mark. "Red Cross, Your Majesty, acting head of the Canterlot Health Department." He turned to address the rest of the room. "Several experts have studied the bodies of the ponies killed by Kira. In every case, the cause of death was identified as a heart attack." There were a few murmurs of confusion from the rest of the group. "For those of you unfamiliar with the term, a heart attack is an affliction where a tear or blockage in a major artery stops blood flow to the heart. Similar afflictions are occasionally seen, but it is virtually unheard of in ponies. However, in all cases, there was no damage to the heart or the surrounding tissues. They simply stopped." He paused to let this sink in. "There were no signs of toxins or parasites in the body, apart from a few who had consumed various street drugs before death. It is not caused by a virus, bacteria, or any known poison that we can detect. While we haven't exhausted every option, at this point it seems most likely that the attacks are magical in nature." He bowed again and sat down, through some polite hoof-stomping. "Excellent work, Red Cross." Luna smiled kindly. The Earth pony blushed and looked away. If you find anything else, be sure to let us know. Now, I have also contacted several magical organizations to discuss the possibility of a magical heart attack. Who represents them? There was some discussion from the unicorn section of the audience before a midnight blue pony stood up and bowed towards the stage. Spell Nexus, he said humbly, headmaster of Princess Celestia's School for Gifted Unicorns. I have been in conference with many other experts in all schools of magic. While spells for causing death do exist, there is no known curse in any culture that is said to kill in this manner. None that can take effect without contact with the victim. In several cases, the only information Kira would have had access to were a name and a face. The unicorn looked around nervously, and Luna realized he was frightened. Most branches of magic were thought to be close to being fully comprehended, but here he was, in the middle of something that was not only dangerous, but completely alien to him. Currently, we are researching ancient Zabrakian curses, many of which are not fully understood. It is possible that some of them may be used to harm others from a distance. However, these magics generally require complex and time-consuming ceremonies to perform, as well as a body part or personal effect of the intended victim. Unless we find an exception to this rule, I am not hopeful that we will find our answers there. Thank you, Spell. Spell Nexus bowed again and sat down. Is there any pony else who wishes to speak? Stunned silence. Very well. I will turn the floor over to our final speaker. Who represents L? Some ponies gasped at the name, while others stared in confusion. From the side of the room, a pony in a hooded cloak and saddlebags rose and walked towards the stage. The material was enchanted, and well. From every angle it cast dark shadows over the wearer's face, hiding their true colors. The shape and bulk of the fabric made it impossible to tell whether the pony beneath was male or female, or an earth pony, Pegasus, or unicorn. The sight made Luna smile. Sideline, she whispered, as the mysterious pony stepped onto the stage. I know it's a new pony under the hood, but it's nice to see you again. The cloaked figure said nothing. Luna faced her stunned audience. Fillies and gentle colts, this is Sideline, L's personal representative. All communication between us and L will take place through her. Sideline bowed slightly. From her saddlebags she took a small box, which she unfolded into a tripod, and placed into the middle of the stage. A recording crystal was set into the front of the box, and a small stratoscreen on the top. Sideline then took a place next to the projectionist pony, pulling a sheet of slides from her other bag. The word Kira disappeared from the back wall, and was replaced with a highly stylized letter L.
Greetings, everybody.
The voice boomed over the auditorium, seeming to come from everywhere at once. It was highly distorted and echoed strangely throughout the huge room, making it impossible to identify.
I am L. I apologize for being able only to send you my voice. I'm sure a face, even a false one, would be more comforting in this time of need. Unfortunately, a full visual transmission carries enough information to be traced, and I cannot allow that to happen.
The more tech-savvy ponies in the audience recognized the lie, but kept silent. Clearly L had his reasons for remaining hidden.
I've been monitoring your discussion, and I agree with your conclusions. The method by which Kira murders is unknown to us. Unless new information arises, it is unlikely that we will be able to track him down in this way.
This sentence caused a stir, but Elle ignored it.
If we are to stop these murders, we must be more direct with our approach. We must find Kira.
This caused an uproar, some ponies laughing, others shouting angrily. Luna cast her eyes over the crowd for a face she recognized. Captain Strawbolt, she called. Do you disagree with Elle's statement? The captain of the city guard rose, his imposing form silencing those around him. Elle, you speak of Kira as though it were an individual. We do not know if Kira is a group or an organization, or an entirely alien threat. How could such a massive attack be carried out by one pony?
Thank you for your question, Captain. Sideline, slide 1.
The hooded pony drew out another slide, and the giant letter L was replaced with a complex chart and list of times.
These are the dates